Welcome back to another episode of Bridging the Gap.
So this next topic we're going to discuss is: has the Black church helped or hurt the community? Um, and I come from a different viewpoint with this, right? Because I don't really believe in a Black church, right?
Mm,
It's no such thing as a Black church. It's no such thing as a white church. It's no such thing as an Asian church. Like, we can keep going on and on. You know, it may be predominantly Black people there and maybe predominantly white people at a church, but the true definition of a church is the body of believers,
true
right?
indeed.
And I
Hmm.
and I get where you're coming from with this question because you know churches I've been to in the past, they're so adamant about, oh, Black church this, Black church that, you know, and God, it says it in the scriptures, He has no respect of persons. So why are you so prideful about a Black church or white church?
Hmm.
So to answer the question, I mean, yeah, I feel like that's hurting the community because you kind of like dividing, in my opinion, in
I
a way.
agree. Right. This is my take when I say Black church.
Yeah.
You're 100% right in what you said,
Hmm.
but it's when I talk to certain people about marriage. They ask me
Okay.
about marriage, and I say,
Okay.
"Are you
Yeah.
talking about marriage in a spiritual sense, on the way I'm talking about it? Or are you talking
Hmm.
about it as far as a contract?" Because unfortunately, not everyone thinks about it the same as you, right?
Hmm.
So we think equally when it comes to the church. But in a way, when I say Black church, it's because the church isn't what it's supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
Or
I
has
get
it
it.
ever? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you said, it's not supposed to be that.
Hmm.
But from a worldly view,
Hmm.
there's a difference between you going to a Black church and an Asian one, like you said,
Right.
right? Or a Catholic. I've been,
Right.
I've tried to experience different religions, cultures, and just, friends of different denominations and experiences their service. There's a big difference. There's a gigantic difference. But you're right, because it shouldn't be, because we should all be the same people. We
Right.
should not have that divide. But this is the sad thing, and I feel as though this is part of the problem because it's not, and we're more worldly than we should be when it comes to this concept.
Hmm.
Um,
So just
mhm,
to just to ask you a question off of that,
mhm.
how we're more worldly when it comes to that, right? So what worldly viewpoints do you think that the Black church either helped or hurt the community? I can name one right now, but I want to see what you say.
Man, I can go on. I honestly, in my opinion alone, I think the Black church almost creates a toxic environment.
Mm.
I think the Black church has normalized pimps in the pulpit, making a spectacle out of
Hmm.
service and making people feel good instead of delivering the truth to them. And I'll say this, I think the church has been catering to women and telling women what they want to hear because the majority of the congregation are women. So it's a business and that's how they run it. Am I going to tell women the truth? No. I'm going to tell them what makes them feel good so they keep coming in here and keep giving me this money. And
Mm.
at the same time, most of them are scoping out the congregation.
Mm.
I think it's and I'm not saying all churches are like this. Not all, but it's too many. It's way too many where they foster an environment where people are just there to talk about each other. They're not there to help each other. That you don't get that genuine sense. Okay, well maybe I don't. I didn't get the genuine sense when I visited different churches that people really had the best interest of the congregation there.
Mm-hmm.
I afterwards, you just walk through, you're shaking hands, you hear people talking about other people. Literally, service just stopped, right? And you're already in this thing. But it starts with the leadership. If the leadership is not right, you have too many false prophets. They're flashy, and people gravitate to that. It's not a genuine word. It's worldly. They look nice. They got nice cars. Just
Mm-hmm.
that and the third. Building fun. Been going on for 30 years. I haven't done anything with the building. But there's just too many. I don't even want to get too deep already. But what was the one thing you wanted to say before I even go somewhere else with that?
Well, I thought of a couple while you was talking, but
Mm,
what I really wanted to say was I kind of wanted to shed light on this story before, right?
mm,
And it just has to do with the topic of tithing and offering and where that money should be going,
mm-hmm,
right? So, first of all, if a lot of members don't know where their money is going, and every member has a right to know where their money is going. I feel
mm-hmm,
like in the black church, and you could just say churches in general, a lot of them, their pastor had too much power, and who granted that pastor power, that too much power,
mm,
right? Their
yeah,
pastor are just put on a pedestal because they deliver the word, but in all actuality, a member in a congregation could be closer to God than the pastor is to God, So
yep,
the pastor just been put on this high status, and it really shouldn't be that way. The pastor make all the decisions, and in the scriptures you read, not only did the apostles make decisions, but they consulted the elders. You know,
yep,
so how many of that is going on in the church? Actually consulting with the elders and not just having too much power because you're a pastor or you're an apostle or prophet. The church wasn't set up like that. But just to piggyback off of what I just said and tell this short story. So one time I was cutting one of my clients' hair, and he does like dancing, like miming and stuff for his church
mm-hmm,
faithfully. Um, and he, basically came to me, was like, "Yo, do you have can I stay at your crib for a couple of days? I'm going through something." Or, I forget exactly what he said, but something like that. And I basically said no. I was still living, like my parents were still living here. I'm like, no.
right,
I
yeah,
don't even live on my own. But
right, right,
I'm like, two, this is the point of the church. Like you giving all your time, devotion to this church,
mm-hmm,
and you should be comfortable enough to go to your pastor, to go to your elders of the church and say, I'm going through a rough time right now. I'm in the process of moving or whatever the case may be.
mm-hmm,
And they should be able to help support you. That's
yeah,
how the churches should run. It shouldn't just be you just paying all this money, don't know where your money is going, and like you said earlier, to help with the building fund that you never, what is that? Like to go back to what we was talking about last topic, the church is a body of believers. That's where the money should be going, not to a building. The building is just a place where the church worships. The
mm-hmm,
church, meaning the members, that's just a place where they worship. But
mm-hmm,
the tithe and the offering, that's supposed to help assist the members, the body of Christ. That one sister who may be down in her rent, that one brother that needs his tickets paid so he can get his car, like just stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
And that's where I feel like the black community or the black church really failed the community, is like y'all scamming people. These so-called pastors, y'all really scamming people, and y'all not really doing it God's way. Um,
yeah,
Another one is adultery. Like
yeah,
these pastors
yes,
married this one man, for an example. 3 years later, they divorced over. 2 years after that, he marrying him again to another woman. And the pastor, that's not right.
yeah, yeah,
That's just a couple of examples right there.
That's I mean that's that's why there's certain stuff that's not talked about. I honestly say, and this is where I lose a lot of people. Um, when I say at this point in my life, so I something personal. This point in my life, if I say the word submission to a woman and she frowns her face, I will not engage you in a serious conversation about relationship. I won't. Especially if you tell me you go to church every Sunday.
Right.
Where I am now, like literally, if you don't understand that, that tells me either you didn't pay attention or two, you were never taught that in your church. My
Mm-hmm.
problem is Black church, you're not setting the community up for family. Because if you were, you'd be preaching what a man's supposed to be doing, what a woman
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to be doing, what a husband is supposed to be doing, what a wife is. And you'd be building that family structure in the community because that would help the church. That church would help the community. It's supposed to be cyclical. Everybody's supposed to be helping each other, but you're not building anybody. Why are you not preaching to men what it means to be a husband? Why are you not preaching to women what a wife's supposed to be? Because you don't want to do that because then you lose half your congregation probably. And that's what it comes down to a business. And I literally just going to give you a couple verses, right?
Nobody want to hear about gender roles. Mm-hmm.
I understand that. I understand that. I'm trying to see. Colossians what, 3, 18 and 24. Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as is fitting to the Lord. Husbands, love your wife and do not be harsh with them. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. That's not talked about. That's not stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these aren't my words.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this. And this is what pisses me off, what's going on right now. These aren't my words. So you can't tell me that you're a Christian. I bring that up and you get offended or you don't want to hear it.
So let me say this too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's absolutely true. Like, the word is the word. We can't argue that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this goes back to what you were saying about the pastor just teaching what a husband should be and what a wife should be.
Mm-hmm.
But men really need to understand the word submission too, because we do have some men in this generation that hear the word submission and go overboard with that.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. And
and
you're not supposed to be submissive to a man's not submissive to God, though.
exactly my point.
Right.
Exactly my point. Like, if you got an aggressive dude
Oh,
yelling and screaming at you and talking about you're supposed to be submissive to him, like, nah,
right.
that's not how that works. And like I said, a lot of men abuse that word submissive, but like you said, it also go back to teaching. It also go back to they need to understand too that they're not the only one who's supposed to be submitting to God. Like, men, we're supposed to be submitting to God ourselves.
Correct.
It's just that word submission just has. It's crazy how the devil works, right? It's crazy how
There
the
you go.
devil works. The word
Mm-hmm.
submission is just so negative, and
Yep.
it's destroying Black families. That's is nothing but the devil.
Yeah, because there's nothing, I'm not saying perfect, but there's nothing but peace in that. If a
Right.
man knows his purpose and he's submissive to God, and he's acting accordingly and doing what he needs to do, and he finds a wife and she actually is submissive to him, everyone wins.
Hmm.
That husband has peace in her. She has protection. She's provided for. She's loved. She's covered. And she becomes everything that she wants to be.
Hmm.
And together they grow.
Right.
But I'm honestly at this point. If I really say that, and you tell me you're an avid churchgoer, and I say submission, and your face frowns up, there's no conversation. You know what? Um it's literally like the definition of an infidel. It's somebody who heard the truth but doesn't accept it. So
Mm.
why argue with that type of person? And I know I'm getting extreme, but it's almost like ungodly to me, because if you read the word, you understand it was presented to you, and you still go against that. I can't entertain that. I can't have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
I'm extreme with that, but that's where I'm at, man.
I think it's a verse in like Titus chapter 1, verse 16, if I'm not mistaken. It's just speaking on how people have a form of godliness, but deny the power thereof. That explains that situation.
Yeah,
What we talking
yeah,
about perfectly.
yeah. And it's man, it's it's just a sad thing because we've been led astray of this institute that so many of us were raised in. Like
Hmm.
that was a normal part of your growing up, Sunday morning, that's what it was for
Right.
years and years, and you adopted this thing, but what did you really get out of it?
Hmm.
Now, I can say that it did help me with my moral base. Like I actually took to the word. I wasn't perfect, but it those stories, those things meant something to me.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I know it wasn't it didn't mean those same things to everybody else.
Right.
So there is some type of, I guess, self responsibility when it comes to that.
Hmm.
Like, what are you there for? Like, I would talk to my friends afterwards, like, "Yo, did you see the joint over?" I was like, "Yo, I'm in church. I'm not thinking about females."
Right.
Like, what I mean? They scoping the crowd. I was like, "How are you even thinking like that?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
but but I just think as a whole, I just don't think the church fostered this environment that it should have been doing. I know it claims to be something, but I just don't think it was doing it. I don't think it was helping the community. I don't think, like you said, in that situation, a member should be able to come to them like, look, I'm having hard times, and can I stay? Look, you can stay here. You can, you know what I mean? There's probably a couple beds or cots set up somewhere. So, you know what I mean? You can crash there, or we know somebody's having an issue. So we're going to help this person, or, now, I think this is the problem. In extreme situations, they do, when it's something so big that it's almost like a photo op. And I'm sorry to say that. You know what I mean? There are scenarios where they will do something because basically they have to. Some in the neighborhood or somebody that's kind of important. Oh yeah, we're gonna help. We're gonna help sister or brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the norm, no. And I'm sorry, but there should be programs set up in the church.
Hmm.
There should be communities built. There should be the elders of, men that have been working in certain industries to be reaching out and helping the younger kid that graduated, or, looking for, hey, maybe come in this field, internship. I'm not, basically, it all starts with the head. And if you're not thinking about that, because the whole thing is it's a money making business, it's not a church. There's a difference.
Yeah. And like just to go based off like the whole church setup, what I was talking about earlier with like the power structure, it's like who anointed that pastor to have so much power? Right.
It's his church.
It's
Like, no, you understand what I'm saying when I say like worldly,
yeah,
and it was that's what it is.
yeah,
Because I started this, I did this, I'm going. It's not about
exactly.
what it should be. It's business. I put my name on this. This is me. I started this. My congregation.
It's crazy, yeah, because it's like, oh, the founder of such and such church, we honor him, but it's no founder of no church. Like it is a founder, and that's Jesus himself. He's the
Yeah.
founder of the church. So
Mm-hmm.
all these, oh, we pay respect to the founder of my church who founded this church in 1996, 1917. Like he found a building for y'all to worship in. Like that's just about it. He's no founder of no church.
Correct.
And like I said, everything just started with the structure. Like until the deacons really know, the elders really know what type of position they really have in the church, everything will flow much better. Because then they'll be able to come to the pastor like, pastor, like, what are you doing? Like they can correct the pastor too. Like I said, no, the pastor is not above the next man. He's just preaching the word. He's ahead of the flock, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
God has no respect of person.
I agree.
So a pastor can still sin and have error on his ways, and that's where you have the elders, the deacons, too. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 100%. I agree. Go tell pastor that he wrong or he can't do something in his church. Good luck with that. Then there's so many politics behind the scene of like trying people get on a board so they can have some power or help. But then you got people who may be eating off the current structure and they don't want to bring that new blood in here who's trying to do something or create some programs or create some type of change. Oh no, go ahead with that.
right,
Like it's business. It's business, man. Plain and simple.
right.
God has left this place long ago.